Hello, I am Samantha Cole from the United States. For my EDSE 619 final project with George Mason University, I have compiled information on Professor Mickey Keenan. I plan to explore Professor Keenan's contribution to the field of applied behavior analysis, better known as ABA. He is a very important figurehead in the development of applied behavior analysis across the pond in Europe. He received his undergraduate degree in psychology from Ulster University as well as his doctorate of philosophy. In 2006, he became a Fellow of the British Psychological Society, hence the FBPSS behind his name. In 2007, he became a board-certified behavior analyst at the doctorate level. And he has been an influential member of the European Association of Behavior Analysts since its inception in 2013. He is married to a beautiful German-born woman whom he works closely with and has 4 children with. He is also a professor at Ulster University, where he led the development of a master's-level course sequence in applied behavior analysis that is approved by the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. Throughout his career, he has accomplished several things and has been awarded recognition from various associations. In 2014, he was recognized for spreading the knowledge of ABA by the Society of Advancement for Behavior Analysis, better known as SABA. Also in 2014, Professor Keenan was awarded the Michael Hemingway Award by the Behavior Analysis Certification Board for spreading the knowledge of ABA around the world and for his work advocating for political reform that directly impacts the field of ABA. In 2008, his proposal to the European Commission titled Science and Treatment of Autism, a Multimedia Package for Parents and Professionals, or STAMPPP, was accepted, which resulted in the release of the Simple Steps Autism Online ABA training program in German, Norwegian, and Spanish. It was already available in English. 1,000 free copies were given away, and this was a big step towards the goal of increasing the availability of ABA resources globally. In 2011, Stamp 2 released the Simple Steps Autism online training program in Icelandic, Swedish, Dutch, and Italian. Currently, Professor Keenan has 4 published books and 5 CD-ROMs. Here, I have listed his 4 books and 1 of his CD-ROMs. Behavior Analysis: A Primer is a multimedia CD, and it is currently out of print and very difficult to find. His book, Parents' Education as Autism Therapists, Applied Behavior Analysis in Context, was the first book on ABA written for parents. Professor Keenan's applied work includes advocating for the political reform of regulations pertaining to ABA and creating and/or maintaining ABA resources to aid families across Europe. As the foundation director of the parent-run charity called Parents' Education as Autism Therapists, or PEAT, he and colleagues created the Simple Steps Autism program, which is an online multimedia tool to teach parents and professionals the principles of ABA in order to help children, students, and/or clients learn the skills that they lack. The translation and maintenance of Simple Steps Autism required funding, which came from a proposal called the Scientific and Treatment of Autism, a multimedia package for parents and professionals. This proposal was submitted to the European Commission, where it was granted funding under the Leonardo program that supports the lifelong learning and education of individuals. Simple Steps Autism has received 2 rounds of funding from Leonardo, major updates, and translations, which are identified as STAMP and STAMP 2. Professor Keenan's research is quite eclectic as his topics of study vary significantly. However, a few trends can be seen in his 60 published articles. They are stimulus equivalence, multimedia, and the misrepresentations of ABA. The wide variances in his research relates to his love for all things behavior-related, and that he does work with many of his colleagues and students, to include his wife. Here, you see a short summary of 5 publications by Professor Keenan. Let's read them together. The scientific image in behavior analysis was about the exploration of the potentiation of multimedia in the science of ABA. It is very useful in depicting challenging behavior. Merging separately established functional equivalence classes found that multiple functions in equivalence classes may elicit novel behavior. A1 equals B1 equals C1 might reliably equal new behavior at X1. More research is required. When all you have is a hammer, randomized controlled trials, and hegemony in science was a dissertation stating that the use of randomized controlled trials Randomized controlled studies is not appropriate in measuring the effectiveness of ABA. This is because they are based on statistical significance and not clinically significant improvements. Social categorization and stimulus equivalence found that subject groups showed varying levels of equivalent responding based on their religious beliefs. Equivalent responding between A1, B1, C1 may be impacted by our learning histories. Varying response reinforcer contiguity in a recycling conjunctive schedule determined that a recycling conjunctive schedule consisting of a fixed time of 30 seconds and a fixed ratio of 1 with some zero delay contiguities produced a scallop-like pattern that resembles the pattern created by a fixed interval schedule. The various schedules of reinforcement utilized at the same time influence the rate, distribution, and organization of responding. Professor Keenan is a very busy person, but he did do me the honor of responding to an email asking 5 interview-style questions. First, I asked what his primary area of interest is, to which he responded that he loves all areas of ABA, and that his area of work has changed over the years from schedules of reinforcement to areas that interest his students. I then asked him what the bulk of his email correspondence consisted of. In hindsight, this was a rather personal question, but I was curious as I reached out to him a total of 3 times before I made it to the top of his to-do list and stayed there long enough for him to spend the time answering me. As it turns out, he has completed several interviews which consist of similar questions, and they are all available online. Anyway, he stated that he mainly receives contact from parents seeking help for their children. Then I asked what his favorite study of his was, and what his favorite study of one of his students was. His favorite article that he published is Varying Response Reinforcer Contiguity in a Recycling Conjunctive Schedule, while his favorite article of one of his students was Social Categorization and Stimulus Equivalence. A short summary of the results of these studies was provided on the previous slide. I found Professor Keenan's article on varying response reinforcer contiguity in a recycling conjunctive schedule to be quite dense, and I require further clarification on its findings, but Professor Keenan believes that in this study he solved the riddle of the fixed interval scallop, meaning why individuals respond more frequently at the end of a fixed interval than in the beginning of a fixed interval. Sounds exciting. Professor Keenan also provided me with input on my rough draft for this project. It is about his life and all. This has improved my final project. He has also stated that he welcomes me to reach out to him in the future, and I am very grateful to have his professional support and find him to be a very down-to-earth person. From this exchange, I have learned that there is no real reason to be nervous when contacting an established professional in the field of ABA. They likely wish to support the growth of their field and might respond with a wealth of information, as Professor Keenan has. In conclusion, Professor Keenan has not only contributed to the field of ABA, but to the world. Due to his work, ABA training is now available to parents more widely through Europe, which is helping to improve the lives of children and families across Europe. This is made possible through his advocacy of ABA and his efforts to dispel the criticisms of ABA, which might bring about political reform. His online teaching platform, Simple Steps Autism, and STAMP are tools in which he has helped spread the field of ABA throughout the world. It is likely that Simple Steps Autism program will continue to be translated into the native language of other countries to further this cause. The Simple Steps Autism program is also supported by the European Association for Behavior Analysts to train professionals at the master's level. I suspect that one day it may be a part of the BCBA-D approved course sequence. It is this work that has expanded upon the field of ABA and has made Professor Keenan an accomplished professional. Here are my references that I used to make this presentation. This ends my presentation on Professor Keenan. Thank you for watching.